it's gonna be a great night. I feel like I want to do a little jig, a
Nice.
little jig, little dance. Y'all come on into the room. Thank you all for attending tonight's very, very, very special conversation. We're gonna have us a good old time tonight. We're gonna give everybody a few more minutes to make it on in. So in the meantime, go ahead and type your name and the name of your current and or aspiring podcast in the chat box. Introduce yourself and let the people know who you are. We are going to ask that everybody turns off their video so that we can get a clean recording for tonight's event. And so thank you. Thank you. I love seeing y'all beautiful faces though. Maybe at the end we'll have everybody turn their camera on right at
Yeah.
the, yeah, we could do like a little,
The selfie joint.
a little Zoom selfie, a little Zoom ussy, let's do a Zoom ussy.
I like that.
I would love to see that happen. We're gonna give everybody a few more minutes to make it on in here. Y'all said y'all not playing. Listen, I love an early bird. Y'all not playing. Y'all done signed up to come on in here and get this information, and y'all definitely gonna be on time to get this here information. So y'all come on into the room. We have a great, hey Melissa. Melissa say hey y'all. How you doing, Melissa? Thank you and welcome. Y'all make sure you go ahead and post your name and the name of your podcast. Let us know where you're coming from. My name, well, I'll tell y'all my name in a little bit. Y'all can see my name probably because I'm the one talking. Hey, Stephanie, how are you? Stephanie brings us greetings from Harlem, New York, and her podcast is Audio Oasis Storytelling. Come
Nice.
on.
Nice.
Audio Oasis, girl, that sounds like something I want to listen to. I enjoy that. Melissa is tuning in from Dallas. What's up, Melissa? How you doing? All right, y'all come on in. I'm going to let a few more folks in. We're just gonna wait a few more minutes. So y'all go ahead and get comfortable, introduce yourself. We're gonna have us a good time. Y'all got y'all wine and things. Y'all need to make sure y'all have all your libations. I did my libations before we got started.
Right on. I
I
was
take
good.
no chances. Okay. I make it happen. Hey, Leslie. Leslie from a Different 50 podcast from Northern New Jersey. Leslie says that she is geared. Okay, her podcast is, look, girl, I had to look again. Leslie said her podcast is geared at the African American woman and man if they are already over 50. All right. Hi, Vernon. Vernon is, yes, Vernon said this is Vernon Foster the second. Yes, Vernon. Vernon said, put that up. Respect my second, please.
Brooklyn.
Vernon Foster the second from Brooklyn, New York, repping ACAST. Hi, Vernon. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Stephanie, I absolutely will, Stephanie. I sure will. I wrote all of y'all podcasts down because Leslie was here last time, and I believe Stephanie was here last time as well. So we love seeing that repeat. Y'all keep on coming in, and because all of the information that we given is layering on top of each other. So we love to see that. We're gonna get y'all whole podcast life together. I'm excited about that. Leslie says she got her red Zinfandel. Come on, Zinfandel. Girl, don't get me started. I got some Zinfandel stories.
Why not?
That Zinfandel is for real, for real. Please make sure you go ahead and turn off your video so we can get a clean recording for tonight. Y'all know Zoom, I feel like Zoom ought to have that together by now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we done been in the pandemic for half the year at this point, and they still don't have it set up where we can spotlight more than one video at a time. And so, in order for us to get a clean recording for tonight, I'm just going to ask for everybody to turn off their video, and don't worry, if you forget to turn off your video, I'll turn it off for you. And it's all love. I have no problem with making that happen. Y'all coming on in. We have over 65 people registered for tonight, which is
Okay.
like three times as many as we had first time. That means y'all went out there and y'all started talking to y'all friends and y'all was like, girl, I done went over to the Afros and the audios, and they done got my whole podcast life together, girl. You need to come on over here and you need to make it happen. And they did. They signed up and they came on through. Stephanie says, we love y'all. We moved in now, furniture. And oh, yes, girl, we is roomies. We is roomies, and we enjoy that. Hi, Amari. Amari, I'm going to go ahead. Uh-oh, Amari, I done hit the wrong button, Amari. I'm going to turn off your video. If you would just keep that video off. All
OG.
right, so we're going to keep letting people come on in, but we're also going to go ahead and get started because we want to be respectful of everybody's time. And we got a whole lot that we want to share with y'all tonight. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to make all of that happen. We want to say thank you to everybody who registered and everybody who is attending tonight's presentation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am a mental and emotional wellness creative, licensed professional counselor, and a certified life enhancement coach. And I am the host of Unicorns Talk podcast. And I am your back end moderator tonight, which means that I'm going to be the one reading all y'all comments. I'm going to be the one saying, hey, girl, hey. I'm going to be the one moderating all of the back end stuff so that our three presenters tonight can make it happen and they ain't got to focus on none of that extra stuff. Welcome to the Afros and Audio virtual podcast kickback. Tonight is our Ask an Expert Novice Tech Talk Q&A. So what that means, if you've never been to a Q&A before, is that you got to ask some Q's so we could give you some A's. All right. So let's make sure that you have all of your tech questions ready. You can actually go ahead and start typing those questions into the chat box right now. And want to make sure that you don't get necessarily too personal because we're trying to give as much general information to help as many people as possible. But each one of the people that's going to be conversating, or that's not a word, conversating is
That's a
not a
word.
word. It's a Black people word. So I'm gonna keep using it. I feel like it is an acceptable form of Black folk language, you
It's
know?
a pandemic.
So yeah, you know what I'm saying? So all of our presenters for tonight are at the top of their fields. They all know what they're talking about. That's why we have them coming to talk to y'all, because y'all know we don't give y'all nothing but the best. And so if you have a more in-depth issue that you need some assistance with, they're going to give you their information when we wrap everything up, where you can reach out to them directly and request their services if you feel like that's what you need to do. Okay. So go ahead and start posting your comment or your questions in the chat box. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Once again, we're asking that everybody turns their video and their audio off. And that's just to make sure that we get a clean recording. For those of you who are participated last month, you know that tomorrow you're going to get an email that's going to say, damn, we had a good time last night. And we had a good time last night. And by the way, take this video so you can watch this again and again and again to make sure that you know what you need to know. Write it down, slow it down, pause it, do whatever you need to do to get the information that you need to get. So we want to make sure we get a clean recording tonight. So if you would please keep your audio and your video turned off, we would appreciate it. But we are going to do a group ussy for everybody that wants to participate, and I'll let y'all know. So y'all just be ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Like when I tell you to turn your camera on, you need to turn your camera on, and I'm not playing. Like y'all need to really make it happen. All right. If you look down at the bottom of your screen, there's a few things I want to call to your attention. The first thing is you have the option for the chat box. If you click on, it's either going to say chat or show chat or open chat or something like that, depending on what version of Zoom you are using. That's where you're going to pull up the chat box. That is your friend. That is how you are going to communicate with us. And we want to make sure that when you are posting something, that you're posting it to everyone in the group. And the way that you can tell if you're not posting it to everyone in the group is if you see any red writing on the side, that means that you're posting to one person in particular, and the group but more importantly, me, we ain't seeing what you wrote. Okay. The only person that's going to see what you wrote is the person that you wrote it to, unless you select everyone when you're typing your comment into the chat box. So you want to make sure you be careful about that. The other thing I want you to look at is there's a little box there that says reactions, and it has two reactions there. You got a thumbs up emoji and you got a hallelujah slow clap emoji. All right. We're going to use both of those emojis tonight. That's how you're going to let these people know that you are with them. That's how you're going to let these people know that you understood what they're saying, that you're loving what they're saying, and all of the above. And if you really want to, you could change, you could change the color of your emojis. You know what I'm saying? As a lot of people don't know that, but your emoji don't have to be yellow. Who's yellow? I don't know no yellow people in real life. So my emoji is a nice mocha brown because I'm a nice, y'all see my emoji? I'm a nice little mocha brown. So you can have fun with your emojis. We want you all to enjoy yourselves tonight. This is family. We are here to have a good time, to learn some things, and to take our podcast to the next level. And we have the perfect people to make that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to our front end moderator, our host for the evening, Conscious, or you could just call him C if
You
that's
can
really
just
what
call
you
me
want to
Steve.
do.
Yeah.
Conscious, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. I saw some ducks today. I was in a
Yes.
kayak. I didn't drown. I had some good food and I had a bit to drink, but I didn't have too much to drink because I know I had to do this.
Well, we sure do appreciate your efforts and your sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on over.
All right, so thank you first and foremost. Thank you, Latrice and Mr. Talib, for just doing a wonderful thing with Afros and audio. It's very I'm honored to just be a part of this conversation, to talk to Africa and talk to Wise. I have yet to actually really meet either one of them in person. A lot of internet stuff happens. You see people, you kind of lurk, you learn stuff about them, and you can kind of just see how good they're doing things in the world. They seem to be very showing, improving, so to speak, through their efforts and whatnot. And I appreciate you for that. The fact that I am moderating this means a lot to me. So, just to let you know a little bit about me, my name is Conscious, or call me C for short. I am co-founder of Bonfire Radio, based in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Uh, Online radio, and yep. Somebody coming in? I hear a voice. Everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Go
okay.
for it.
Online radio, run a studio in Bushwick but because of COVID, we are not broadcasting from the studio that we've had for about 5 years now. We're actually in a home. We're in Bushwick. I mean, we're in Bed-Stuy doing radio. Um, Trying to figure that out. Like, what is the future of getting our station back together and whatnot. Also, podcasting, been doing that for quite some time, and we do a thing called a podcast retreat, which is like a 6 hour intensive day of podcast learning, from the equipment to ultimately mapping out a show. What does that look like? I enjoy podcasting. My first venture into podcasting probably happened in like 2001. I had a website called consciouspodcast.com. No longer have that, of course. It's gone. But it's just very interesting to see as we kind of enter this podcast bubble. Podcasting has been around forever because a podcast is simply an audio that is saved on a server and is streamed. So podcasting is not new, but it's really great to see that people are being able to use this as a tool to just get their voices around globally. So I want to start off. I want to ask Africa and Wise, just to tell us a little bit about yourselves, the things that you're doing right now, your main focus, and the first question I would ask after that is to tell me why podcasting, like why did you get into it, and how long have you been doing it? Africa.
So my name is Afrika Hannibal. My background is in marketing and advertising. And honestly, I got into podcasting originally because I wanted to tell stories of women like myself who were in a specific industry or a trade, and be honest about what their experiences were, because I felt like what was typically portrayed online was, you know, what people like to say it is kind of our representative. So I wanted to get to the core of, you know, what the daily life of was of some of these women who were in power positions. Um, and I was at a studio in the city that a friend from high school owned that he wanted to get rid of. And I ended up taking that studio over and transitioning over to my own studio that I now have in the Brooklyn Navy Yard called Break Bread. And pretty much from there, kind of just started out working with other individuals and podcasting. As to your question, why podcasting? Kind of Talim and I touched on this a little bit earlier in the year. We kind of had a conversation, and I don't know if anyone is familiar with, you know, just griots in general, but I think naturally, people from our culture, we are great storytellers, whether that is in written form on Twitter or, you know, banter between each other on a daily basis. Like, we're really amazing at telling stories, and I think it's a great way to document history without having to necessarily write things down or be perfect as a author or writer or journalist in a specific industry.
Wise.
Uh, Hey everybody, my name is Wise Gazette. I got involved into podcasting and just the entire spectrum of digital media. Just off of I actually went to school for this. I went to school for website management and internet commerce. And when I graduated in 2010, I came back to my community, which is here in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and to this day, I mean, we're in 2020 now, and you still can't buy certain things without cash. You know, like my community is not digitized, and my greatest fear has come true in the form of COVID, where so many businesses that are reliant on foot traffic, um, they just can't get it right now, and they don't have the tools and resources to connect with people online. So that's kind of how I got involved in podcasting from like an overall spectrum. But personally, a friend of mine actually invited me to be a guest on her show because of a blog I used to have. The storytelling has also been something that I've always been involved in. But she invited me onto her show, and I had never really been in front of a mic before. So once I got started to talk, I really felt like I felt it. I don't know, spirits carried me or whatever. And hell, 5 years later, no, actually, I was like 2012. So 8 years later, here I am. I run IC and DJ, which is essentially a service podcast business, but it's also really and truly an association for podcasters who want to get support from idea to disbursement of the podcast.
So I guess the first question to follow up that I asked you was, what is your own personal podcasting setup? What does it involve? What do you have?
Man, so I have actually I have a mic. Sometimes I will literally record to my phone or my computer. But most of the time, I'm recording literally into my mic. I have like a whole mixer setup. I used to have a Zoom H5, which was where I literally started.
Right.
Really just a small portable little device that cost $200, but it allowed me to record myself anywhere, everywhere, and that was important.
Africa, what do you use? I see you in the studio doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm mostly in the studio doing stuff. So have the mixer. We have Shure microphones, and then also we do live recording. So we also use the C920 webcams in addition to that as well.
So when choosing the things that you use, did you choose them by default because they were available, or was there like a process to kind of look into what would work? Was it something that you used before that you stopped using and that you're now using where you are now comfortable?
All of the things were by default, as I said, because I took over from an existing
Right.
um, studio. But right now, we're in the process of actually looking into some newer mixers because we have a pretty old mixer in the studio right now. Something that's also more portable based on the pandemic, one that we can actually take to people if they don't feel comfortable coming into the studio. So we're looking at like the Zoom Live XR, which is a portable mixer that you can just pack everything up, put it in a bag, and take the whole podcast studio basically to a person at their location.
Which is good. Now, I mean, our setup for mobile podcasting involves a little tiny baby mixer,
Mm-hmm.
some corded mics because we're not gonna play that game. Um,
Yep.
splitter, good headphones. Definitely a portable that's because we use it in conjunction with a laptop. So it's a USB portable. And I would say for everybody listening, if you're gonna go out there and buy a little mixer, make sure it's a USB mixer because they still sell analog ones. And I had a terrible story about to get on a plane, realizing that we had purchased one that was analog and having to get another one before we went out of town. So yeah, like a really basic, simple setup. In studio, we have actually now we have a roadcaster, and
Mm-hmm.
it's basically, I don't like to say the idiots, but it's supposed to be the idiot's way of using it. This is a very simple thing with the buttons and stuff. And I would tell you, if you're used to using a big board and intuitive kind of like convoluted setup, it is not that simple to use. You have to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to,
Exactly.
master and use it. But it's really good. I think it's at a decent price point. Uh, they have some little quirks. They have things that they need to fix about it. You know what I mean? It's not really great to transfer over like the audio and sound. It takes too long to do that. But I think they'll fix it because they've been upgrading it a bit. I just want to remind everybody that's watching to drop your questions so that we can ask Africa and Wise. And if I kind of know something, I might say something.
Oh, I think you know more than what you letting on. I have a question though. I know I'm not in
What's
the
that question?
chat box, but I have a question because
Uh-oh.
I worked with a mixer. I bought a mixer after about my first year podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm a whole podcast out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade to the mixing board, and it was one of those little Behringer,
Mm-hmm.
like the little 3 or 4 ports. And look, everybody was like, girl. And it was a struggle. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
was definitely a struggle. How do you figure out how to use a mixing board? Do you have to use a mixing board when you're first starting out? And like what are the benefits? And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's not something that I found easy to use. So I was like, is there another way that I could do this, or do I have to buy a mixing board?
Well, I'll say first and foremost, there's so many different ways to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as Wise said to begin with, he was using a Zoom. And a Zoom, if you don't know what a Zoom is, it's just like a portable recorder. A lot of times people capture the audio for films. Do you have it
Mm-hmm.
around so you can show?
I
Do you have
wish
a Zoom?
I have my
Okay.
task cam. I wish I
Okay.
have.
Tasking. And I mean, Zoom also can be used kind of as an interface to a computer, whatever. But I just recently I doing a little consult with somebody and had to break down like the simplest and the cheapest ways to do a thing. We always say you can start with your phone. You can start with your phone. The average Android phone or iPhone has a decent recording app. You know what I'm saying? So like, say you want to record into the phone, you just want to talk into it or whatever. It would be great to use that. And what you can do is you can look for little mics that you can put into it. So some people use iRig. There's like a host of
Mm-hmm.
them. There's like Samson has mics. If you don't want to do this whole intense thing of grabbing a mixer and trying to figure that out, and you want to keep it simple, a lot of people do the Zoom thing. There's going to be work. You're going to have to dump it. You're going to have to chop it up. You're going to have to edit that file that comes out of it with the card and stuff at some point. But the simplest thing is just your phone. Learning how to use your phone. One of the things we teach in our class is the appropriate way to use a phone, because a lot of times people will try to do like an interview with somebody and they forget you're not talking on the phone. So if this is where I'm talking, that's where they're talking. This is what you give them. You know what I mean? So learning how to like master the phone. But if you really want to get good audio, I would say get a nice little mic, and you can get any mic for under $100. Just do the research, see what the reviews are. But that's like the first step. And the first step outside of using a software, people use software like Anchor or whatever. These are
Mm-hmm.
things that just automatically send whatever you've made into the internet. And they have like a little social media thing around them. But you want to be sometimes people just want to record their stuff, get it together, edit it up, chop it up before they put it into the world. If you're a person who likes to go off the cuff, that might be your answer. Um, any thoughts about the simplest ways to do this without using a mixer?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would just kind of follow what you were saying. The phone is, I used to, outside of podcasting, I used to manage an artist, and my artist would wait till she got in the studio to start trying to practice something. Like, nah, you use your phone, you could do
Right.
all of your voice recordings and practice it right then and there before you get into the studio. Same thing with the podcast, you know, especially people in their first season and as we get it started. Like, first off, you're not gonna like your voice at all. Just get it out of your head. You're gonna hate your voice. So don't worry about that. Just make sure and you focusing on about the type of content that you're putting out. And you can do that with your phone. You can do that with anything as long as it can capture the audio so you can hear about
Yeah, I agree. I think you both kind of covered on the basics, and your phone is something that you already invested in that can serve multiple purposes for you. I mean, if you don't have the budget as well to kind of invest in, some of these products, I think the phone is a great way to start. And then as you start to, as Y said, get a ear for your sound and how you sound, then you may want to start testing out, working with a mixer and testing out your different levels and things like that. As you get used to, you'll start to hear like, oh wow, that sounds off, and you get more familiar with, the different things and the hums and hisses and things like that
Right.
in the background.
Shout out to Leslie in the chat room. She said, Leslie Faison said, I bought a Tascam DR05 recorder and I watch YouTube videos and I still have no idea how to use it. Total waste of money. I mean, you could sell it back, or I don't know. Maybe you just need somebody to that has it and can come and show you. Because some things is like, you can look at YouTube and it's cool. We all learn differently. But that's a good piece of equipment. And speaking of Tascam, when I was talking about downloading apps, you can download some apps to recording. Tascam has a free app, recording app that has like you can adjust levels and do some different things in it. The quality of the recording is great, and I think you can export to like uncompressed waves. You can do MP3s. You may be able to do OGG files and things like that. So we got a really, really, oh boy, we got a
Yeah, I
challenging
was gonna
question.
read that one out. You want me to
Yeah,
read it out and
you can
then
do it. You can do it. Go for it. Cause
yeah,
I saw it and
yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, she wrote a whole listen. She wrote a whole paragraph. I was like, hold on, let me read that again. All right. So AO Storytelling Podcast. Thank you for your question. She says that she has an impossible scenario question for our panel. She would love to hear your thoughts on this, all three of you. So she says you get an offer of $50,000 cash on the spot to act in the role of producer in a studio for an existing well known podcast. You have a podcast of your own, but it's nothing on this scale. You only have 24 hours to prepare for this challenge and then walk in the studio with what you know. Name the 5 things you need to know to have even a fighting chance to survive and win the challenge. So, what's the 5 things if you only have 24 hours to produce the episode of your life, right? What's the 5 things you need to go in there ready to do?
I mean, I want to say first and foremost, because this is tough. This is a tough question. Why don't y'all ask them something that we might answer? Um,
That's why they came here. They came here to get the real deal
that that
answers.
that's crazy. That's a crazy question. I mean, first and foremost, you're talking about producing. This is more than just tech. So you need to listen to that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the first thing. So you need to do a crash course on this whole podcast. You need to binge listen to the podcast. That's probably number one. Can I get a number two? I'm not doing all these five by myself.
I think to piggyback on what you're saying as far as listening, also do research.
Right.
Listen to similar podcasts. Think about
Right.
some ways that you can take the podcast to the next level and help them stand out in whatever topics that they're discussing, and then bring them up an extra notch.
What about you, Wise? You have any thoughts?
Man, if you give me a 50K, the most I'm gonna do, I guess the immediate first thing will be to promote the podcast on social media. You know, like a lot of people have quality content that nobody's ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
I drop 10K immediately on just like social media promotion on specific pieces of the episode. So you're not giving people everything all at the same time, but you're also like people, trying to reel them back into your ecosystem of your podcast, whether that's your social media for the podcast or the actual content.
I mean, now because you asked that question, I felt kind of like it was like a, you said 50,000, and so I'm like, oh, what equipment should I buy? But this is a podcast that's already been produced
Mm-hmm.
and it has producers. So my thing is to stay true to it's already successful. I'm not trying to mess with it too much. So I need the coattail. I don't know how much coattailing I can do in 24 hours to have a conversation with everybody involved with the podcast. I want to replicate what they're doing and continue that thing going. So this is a this is a tough, weird question simply because this is something that already exists and something that's already great. So we're
Yeah.
going to
So
look
she
into it.
what she's
Yeah.
asking, she's saying that um she she's saying producing, but she's really wanting to know more about the tech side of the production. So what is it that she
Okay.
needs to know, I guess, about the equipment, about the software? Like what is it that she needs to know? I don't know. Ao, do you produce your own show? Are you saying that you don't know how to produce? You just produce your own show and now they want you to do it on this other level and you're asking how do you do that?
Yeah. I need to.
We need a little more clarity in that question. And so while AO is getting that together and sending us a little bit more information, I'm
Okay.
going
I
to go
say
ahead
this
and
is
pull
good
another
stuff,
question
but
real
what
quick.
survival tech skills would I need to know to survive in the booth? Oh, wow. Well, I mean, most people spend years and years in the booth. So, listening is a big deal. You know what I mean? We can go into every aspect of, hey, if you're looking at a mixer, you're looking at levels. You look at the level on the computer, you look at your wave, you listen, you use your monitors, all these other things that happen. These are things that you generally learn as you do engineering, even if you're a person that doesn't simply engineer. It's like the first thing I tell somebody when they sit behind a board. Your ears are so important. Outside of that, what you're looking at, what you hear in the room, and what's happening with the people. There's a thing about eye contact. I don't know how you set up. You know what I mean? I know in our studio, we set it up so that the engineer can see everything in the room, and the engineer can basically kind of like almost predict what is going to happen as it's happening. You know what I mean? Scenario: some people talk low, some people talk loud and laugh and stuff like that. A lot of times, a lot of that you mitigate future problems with sound and stuff based upon the way you set up people before you even start a show. So this is like one of the things we generally teach people. It's like getting people comfortable, getting them ready to sound their best, to do their best on a mic, so that while you're doing it in the process, you can kind of just sit back, watch them, listen, get them situated so you have a quality of the show and all of that. Technically, I would say, just to be paying attention. Uh, any thoughts from you guys?
I'm gonna say from a tech slash non-tech standpoint,
Right,
as a producer, you don't necessarily like you might not be the producer slash engineer or the producer
right,
slash you legit could just be the producer where you're just kind of guiding them and helping them craft the show, but then also still at the same time putting it into a framework where the listener understands what's happening, the hosts know what's happening, and you're trying to relate it. I mean, I guess in relation to the show, you're kind of
right,
trying to relate it to what's happening right now.
right.
So just, as a producer, yo, just be yourself because they at the end of the day they saw something in you. So you just have to just produce that show as you see it needs to be produced.
Right. I think what you said is it needs to be distinguished what producer, what you mean by producer, because a producer doesn't wear all those hats, but a producer may wear all those hats because when we start our own stuff, we end up doing all the things. And I mean, down the line, that becomes an issue because sometimes somebody may want to hire you for a thing, and they'll say, "Hey, produce this," and then they'll give you 18 jobs that have nothing to do with production.
Yep.
So that's why it's kind of like, so the
Yeah.
question kind of throws me because I know producer doesn't mean engineer. It doesn't mean the host, but it can be all of those if you don't have a choice. Um,
You know,
yeah,
y'all really went into, so AO gave us some clarity on her question and y'all pretty much just answered it. So see, that's how you know y'all on the right wavelength. She's saying, what is each of your definition of a podcast producer? She said that she's seen a lot of descriptions online, but there's a wide spectrum of what a producer is expected to do. So what is the difference between a producer and an audio engineer from a job description standpoint? Are they one and the same, or are they two different things?
Two totally different things.
Mhm.
And to shout out my creative partner TK that runs Bonfire Radio and also is the executive producer of Here to Slay podcast. She does not do any of that. She oversees the production. So basically, she makes sure that everybody does their job.
Mhm.
They called her in to assure that she's able to get the people that edit, the people that are doing all the other stuff, like the work, like the calling and the booking, and then the arranging and prepping and prompting the voices of the show. You know what I mean? It's your responsibility to make sure everybody is doing their job for the most part, but I would say production wise. An engineer, your job, and this is funny too, the question engineer, your job is to record the podcast. That's what you do. You sit there and record, and in most cases, you don't say a goddamn thing.
Yes,
I mean, yeah,
exactly.
no, that's you know what I mean, because just to say this, one of the reasons I say this, and this is something after doing numerous shows on radio and doing these podcasts, is that your voice has nothing to do with unless they ask you to be a part of that thing, because every voice involved is going to color the podcast. So as an engineer, you shut up
Yep.
unless somebody asks you a question. You just make sure everything sounds good.
Exactly. I always say as an engineer, I always tell them, I'm like, I'm not in the room because they'll look at me and be like, oh, I'm
Right,
not here. I'm not
right,
here.
right.
I'm
And I
like, who
think
you talking to? I'm not here.
Yep.
Pretend I'm not
Right.
here.
And it's important too, as a person that is producing or is involved with putting together their own podcast, not to put people in those kind of positions. And this is good tech conversation because that does happen. Sometimes when people first started things and they don't flush out a show well enough, they'll end up using the engineer or another person in the room as a crutch.
Hmm.
That can't happen. You have to develop a thing. You can't just be like, hey, so what do you say, engineer? No, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think of the producer kind of like you said as a project manager. You're making sure that everything is falling into place. You are the project manager of that
Right.
talent. You're sitting in the right seat. You have
Hmm.
everything you need. Even if it's like you need water, are you guys ready to start? Who's giving the cues? You
Right.
have all your segments down. You know the timing of everything. That's what I think of from a product. It's just like any other production, whether it's film, TV.
Right.
That's what that
Right.
person is there for. And
You're the
like
glue.
you said, audio engineer, sound only. They're not in the sound. They're just making sure your levels, you sound good. That's it.
Because the last thing you want is a engineer that wants to be a host.
Yep.
Yeah, now here's an opportunity to just start talking and derail the thing that you're doing. Let everybody have their job, and it's cool if you want to, incorporate them and stuff. But be ready for that. Be willing to know that that's going to change the flow of the thing that you're doing. Some people's shows involve the engineer. The engineer talks, of course, and they're a big part of it because depending on the way you set up your shows, we had a show called Minister and Coach, and their engineer is the third voice. So he's hitting the button, hitting the applause and all that stuff. So they're already having meetings and they know what's going to happen. And then they'll go over and ask him a question. We have another show called Firsthand Bids Itself on Bonfire Radio, and the engineer is part of the conversation. They've made him a character on the show. So those things are important to kind of make the distinction of what people are. But leave the engineer alone, let him do his job.
And
All right.
for AO, one last thing regarding this job description thing. At the end of the day, right now, podcasting is still the wild, wild west. I promise you, people that's hiring podcasters are not podcasters. People that are hiring producers are not producers. They somebody that someone else put in a position to be like, yo, I need you to kind of run this, please. So still, if things, a lot of stuff is still getting fleshed out, even from a corporate tech, perspective. So just make sure that they don't overwork you. That's the big thing.
Shout out to Beverly. She said, what happens if you're all in? Meaning from what you just said, I'm understanding that if you get a gig, you need to know clarity, what is expected of you and what, i.e. technical help is given. Although this may be a great opportunity, understand you cannot control everything without help. That is the truth.
Mm.
We said that? I don't know. We said all that?
That is what y'all said. See that? See what I'm saying? When you got greatness in your blood, you just be saying shit that just be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Y'all said that. That's what I heard y'all say.
Okay, so I have a question in a doc that I'm gonna randomly throw it out to Africa or Wise for you to answer. The question is, what is the proper mic setup for multiple hosts for like a game show now?
Hmm. Well, personally, I like everyone to have their own individual mic.
Right.
Myself, I am one of those all-in-all persons. So I have been an engineer, I have been an editor, and I promise you, I hate editing when it's somebody like ah ha 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 ha, and there's someone that talks like I just don't know what I want to do. It's incredibly complicated. So I really like to make sure that everyone has their own mic. At least in post production, I can edit it whereas everyone is on the same level, something like that. I love
Right.
it. That's my personal
What would you say, Africa?
I agree. I also think it depends on if you're going to do a multi-track recording, if you want to have everyone's voices separate so that you
Right.
can kind of play around with those people who may talk a little bit lower or be a little bit more loud. But I think from an editing standpoint, and my experience similar to Wise, I prefer everyone to have their own mic. Very adamant about make sure you speak directly into the mic. Put it right there at your
Right.
mouth.
Turn them
Because
up.
a lot of people be over here. I'm like, no, it's not a 360 mic. You have to talk straight into it to get the best sound. So making sure that that is always, the first thing I say, talk directly into the mic.
What you said 360 situation. Now, some people might say, I don't have a bunch of mics. If you do happen to have a mic that's an omnidirectional mic, you make sure the setting is on the
Mm-hmm.
omnidirectional and you get in on that mic. And a lot of things have to do with the room. How big is your room? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
situation do you have going on in there? Sometimes we only have one tool, and it might be that one mic. So that means that
Yep.
you have to set up in a space that is conducive to you getting the best sound quality possible and, get in there. You also have to bear in mind like who is part of the podcast, how many people are talking. We know that once you have more than three voices at a time, it's going to sound horrible. So you have to keep that, especially if you don't have multiple mics.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing the Omni setup and everybody's like set up around a campfire, around that mic, like just idle, like a god of statue, and everybody's around it. You have to think about that in the competition of voices and the way that the mic picks up. Um,
Definitely. I think drink champs, I always think of that as
oh
an
God,
example. Because it's like they just turn on every mic and it just picks up
yeah.
everything and they're in this large room. So
I love them so much, but it's
yeah.
sometimes you just be like, fam, could you please, could you please, could you please drink champs? Oh, okay. All right. Here's another question. What is the benefit of recording in a studio versus a home? What would you say?
However you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, for me, personally, and it was one of the reasons why I went to a studio. I didn't want to worry about anything but just being the podcast host. I didn't want to be the podcast host, the producer, the audio engineer. It really depends on your level of, I think, just being able to kind of multitask and be able to take on all of those things. I just wanted to come in and sit in a chair and talk about whatever topics and let that be my focus, because it's hard for me to be like, okay, I'm hearing myself talk. Now I got to adjust, but then now I have to ask my guest a question and then make sure they sound right. So I think it really depends on your level of, being able to multitask and handle all those things. If you're by yourself,
Right.
and you're just talking, it may be a little bit easier for you to kind of just record yourself and
Hmm.
take on those different roles. But if you're adding in other people, it may be a little bit more difficult for you, manage their voice, your voice, edit, and do all those different production standpoints of it as well.
What would you say, Wise?
I mean, honestly, I have to agree with everything that I just said. Honestly, I loved recording in the studio. It just going to the studio, knowing that I had set this time to do this specific thing, it helped me time block and
Right.
understand. Okay, I'm not doing anything else but this for these next 2 hours. Since the pandemic has happened, I have been recording at home, but I have been recording less because I'm just not in that same mindset. Like I can all the things that I might want to say on my podcast, I can tweet, and
Right.
tweeting is like versus me setting up and talking. But yeah, it's literally like what you need or what you're looking for. on that?
Um, I mean, one of the biggest things about your podcast is audio. So you want the quality audio, right?
Mhm.
The big thing about having a studio is that you control that situation. You can craft the sound of the thing. If you're in your home, things change. Like the room tone changes over time. You never know what happens. Your house sounds different in the day than it sounds at night. A studio is treated so that your sound sounds a certain way. We want a consistency and quality of that. And the other things that you said about not having to deal with thinking about things that are unnecessary, that's good. Now, depends on your podcast.
Mhm.
Because a home podcast might be great. You might be comfortable. You might have the best seats in the house because it's your house. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? But you're going to deal with whatever is happening on the outside of you. It's about comfortability. If you first starting a podcast, some people do. You look at Drink Champs is not in a studio, but it's in a studio, but it's
Mhm.
set up in kind of round table fashion or whatever, and they are comfortable. You know what I mean? It would probably be a little bit different if they were just sitting in a studio like most of the podcasts and stuff that we see now that kind of do the YouTube, the video thing at the same time. If you want to have a consistency of audio, sound, and quality, and like create a vision for a certain sound, the studio is probably your best place to do that. But it's nothing wrong with the home. It's just learning how to treat your home so that you get the best audio quality and just be prepared for the things. And I guess since we're talking tech, one of the things, if you're in your house, you need to know what your house sounds like. A
Mhm.
lot of things happen. You know, as human beings, we hear and we listen to things in a certain kind of way. And I would say there are things you do not notice until you start recording and listening back. We are like engineered these computers. So we listen to sound and we cancel out things that we don't need. So if you've been in an apartment for 10 years, chances are you forget about the beep of
Mhm.
that alarm in the hallway. You know what I mean? These are things that you have to think about technically. You know what I mean? If we really want to dig down and say, hey, if we're going to do it at home, treat your home well so it happens. You know what I mean? Go around the house. Your refrigerator is humming. You know what I mean? You got all kinds of electrical things happening in your house. Unless you have like a house that's set up specifically for that, or you create a studio space in the house. Um, it really depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. You know what I mean? I just say at the end of the day, it's audio, it's not video, so the quality of it must be masterful. Because people will forgive a lot of stuff if they can see something. If they
Mhm.
just got to hear your trash, well, I don't know how long they're going to stick around. Anyway.
All right, let me just hop in here real quick, y'all. This is some great, amazing information that y'all are providing us with tonight. But let me tell y'all, y'all must be like so into this conversation that
I'm
y'all
right
not
with a
even taking
question.
a pause to write y'all questions down. I know y'all have questions. Y'all need to be up in this chat box answering those questions. I need for everybody to put their pen and paper down for just 1 minute because I know y'all taking notes. Because the last time y'all was here, I told y'all to make sure you had your pen and paper so you could take you some notes because we here to give y'all the information that you need. What are your tech questions? What are your microphone questions? What are your software questions? What are your tech questions? These are the people that can answer these questions for you. All of the questions that you had about what this knob do, what that knob do, what how to do this over here, how to do this over there. This is where y'all come to get those questions answered. There will likely not be another opportunity for you to have the level of experience that we have before you today. Okay? These people know what they're talking about. Get those questions answered. So I want y'all to wake up a little bit. Let's do a little, how they say, get the wiggles out or whatever you got to do. Shake it up. Let's get it. Let's get it. I know that these voices are just, y'all got some real peaceful like voices. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm listening to y'all talking. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I'm in a trance. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got some real podcast voices, you know?
Okay, I see about three
And so
questions
it's real
now.
soothing and things like that. Yes, there we go. Let's get these questions.
Can
Let's
you
get them out.
can you give us AO's question so we can get into
Yeah,
that?
I'll give you AO's question. I also want to remind everybody that we have our sponsor, ACAS, has a representative in the chat box. Vernon Vernon Foster the third. Okay, don't I mean the second? Excuse me, the second. Please don't disrespect that second from Brooklyn, New York, repping ACAST. I see you, Vernon. Vernon say you repping. Vernon is in the chat box. If you have any questions about ACAST, we're gonna give y'all some more information. But if you have any questions, Vernon can answer those for you in the chat box. All right. So AO says that she is loving this webinar tonight. So y'all got the people in the trance. You know, y'all got the people in the trance. Her question is, what is the etiquette rule for group recordings? She's saying that she's heard of some wonderful podcast episodes that got ruined because the group kept talking over each other repeatedly. Is there a universal rule to keep this at a minimum? Also, what is the minimum number of guests before it turns into a vocal soup? And let me tell you, Ayo, that's a good question, girl, because I hate the vocal soup, girl. I do not like vocal soup. That is not where it's at. So, what is the group etiquette for group recordings? And what is the maximum number of people that is appropriate for a group recording to still get clean sound?
Anybody want to go with that first?
So so first off, if once you'll realize that people don't really know how to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they do talk to each other. They don't know how to listen and have that communication. And that's the one thing that I definitely learned about while like engineering podcasts. It's just that people they just like to chat and they don't care whether they talk to each other or not. But that sucks on the podcast. So what I tell people is make sure that if you're gonna respond or feel something to say, give that person 60 seconds to respond. Like it's almost like a debate, you know, like you watching the debate. So with the presidents and stuff, whatever. Hey, look, let that person respond. Cool. Now you respond. Cool. Now if there's anything else, all right, next question or move to the next topic, something like that. Like you, but it just takes practice. And what I talk to many of my podcasts about is synergy. Like you just have to know when your person is going to talk. So if that means like sitting in a position where people like everyone has eye contact with each other, that helps a ton. Or just knowing that this person is the moderator, we gonna let them talk,
Right.
and just, we go around that person. And I don't do no more than four guests at a four people at a time.
Four is tough to begin with. Exactly. You need somebody to anchor the conversation. I mean, if you have see, the question is, how many people are hosting, and then how many guests do you have? You know, because that kind of helps a little bit. We had a show that had four hosts. Right. But see, what was good is that one of them was doing music, one of them was kind of DJing, and it seemed like two of them were more anchors than the other ones because, like one would have better communication skills with regards to asking the questions and kind of moving the thing along. If you establish that early on, you can mitigate any audio soup damage that you're talking about. This audio soup. Um, but and then also as a podcaster, production, the engineering, a person like that, that person needs to be really good at quality of handling those things. And even people will argue with me about this, but sometimes with certain podcasts, as the engineer, the whole setup before. Getting to figure out what the people's voices are, and then sometimes actually maybe a slight pan on certain mics and changing people's dynamics vocally. But that gets into how do you craft the sound of a show as well. But yeah, like don't have more than four people on a microphone. Like I think it's crazy to have that many more. Then here's the other thing you have to think about. You're in a space with microphones, so that's electricity and magnets. So the probability of there being some feedback or something crazy happening in the space is very high the more microphones you turn off and the more gain you put into those mics. So that's something that you have to be aware of. And I mean, respectfully, we shouldn't be talking over each other unless we're kind of joking and it's fun. But we have to remember as people that are documenting people's lives and stories and stuff like that, everybody's voice needs to be heard. So on a personal level, it's something that you should be thinking about, and also maybe even discuss with your crew. Because when that happens, you'll be like, yo, you're talking over me. As a person that did a morning show with someone for 6 years, we used to talk over each other. And what will happen sometimes, if you have a really good listeners, a group that loves you, they'll let you know. They'll say, stop talking over each other. Someone is going to complain. You always have to remember that other people are listening. Yeah, 4 people, don't do more than 4 people. Get somebody to anchor the situation, somebody to lead it along. Sometimes people get long when the people don't shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, chill, stop. Because you, all of this comes through. They can't see you, but everything that's happening ends up in the audio. So even if your face is screwed up and you're mad at the person that you're talking to, people hear that. I think these are things we have to be cognizant of as we present our world and our words to people. Talking over each other is a big deal because people do that in real life, not just podcasts. So I think it's a lesson in us respecting each other's words and the value of the words being shared because it's worthless if just one person is talking. The whole point is the conversation, the discussion, and I'm gonna stop talking now because I've talked too much.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. And I think right before I started doing podcasting, I actually took a course at NYU about coaching. And one of the things
Right,
you learn is about being an active listener
right,
and just shutting up and just listening. And even sometimes when you're about to talk, like why I said, take that 60-second pause
right,
and just like take it in, hear what they said, because podcasting can be very reactionary versus like
right,
getting an understanding of each of the points before responding. So I definitely think that, all of that is great advice. And then also back to that multi-track, if you're able to do that multi-track recording, that could also help with that vocal soup, but you might have to do a lot of editing of
right,
pulling out all of those different things versus sitting down with the team and actually saying like, hey, you're over talking this person, or be a little bit more aware of your over talking, or you may not be giving other host or your guests a chance to speak. Like just try
right.
to time yourself and think about what you're saying and be more aware, and I think that helps overall.
We got another question real quick. It
Uh,
says editing. What is the best, easiest editing software to use that's the easiest to learn? What would y'all say about that?
I started out with VideoPad and WavePad. That was easiest for me. But as I'm, starting to learn a little bit more and figure out, how deep I need to go, like, do I need to be at a millisecond and things like that? It really depends. You may start out with an easier software, but it may not allow you to kind of drill down to the exact audio and things that you want to pull out and take out. But that's been easiest for me to use so far, to just kind of get an understanding of sounds and how I can edit quickly and things like that.
Wise?
Um, Personally, I started with Audacity and
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
free as hell.
Yep.
And let me tell you something, like you can YouTube 5 minutes and figure out a whole lot on Audacity. So
Right,
I use that for my own show and for shows that I edited for
right,
years.
right.
I just shifted into Logic,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
as I've gotten deeper now into just trying to be a better audio everything.
Right,
Um, but still, like there are things that I want to do on Logic that I still go back to Audacity to use for anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
they
right,
get it
right.
free. So Audacity.
I
That's it.
agree. I mean,
Yep.
that's we do, definitely using the radio station, my creative partner. Uh, Yo, first of all, because I'm one of those people. You get used to what you use, and sometimes you just don't like the way the interface looks. But
Mm-hmm.
Audacity down the line is probably one of the easiest things to train somebody in, to
Mhm.
teach them to use. You can use it on Mac. You can use it in your Windows. And they've been updating. They've done a lot of little different things in the updates. You can also do multi-track recording in Audacity. We recorded a whole session through the Rodecaster once I figured out how to map it, uh, and did a multi in Audacity, which is this weird kind of looking thing, but it works. And then I mean, at the end of the day, any DAW um, basically is the same but different. You know, they may have things and some things might work faster, or it might be convoluted where you have to do a bunch of things. Like what is the industry standard? People use Logic, not Logic. They use Pro Tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a person that's raised on a Mac, you might be using Logic. Logic is great. If you want another source of a free thing, you can use Reaper. Reaper is a DAW that's really easy to use. The plugins suck, but you won't be worried about that. You're just doing podcasts. You're not out here mixing a record, so it's it's not that. But
Yep.
it's good, and if you want to support it, it's kind of like an open source software. So it's like $50 if you want to pay for it as an individual, and maybe a little bit more if you're doing it as a business. And I would suggest, as we're talking about tech stuff, to pay for everything. Pay for anything that you use, especially if you intend on making money from it down the line. Not only because that's just the thing that you do, but I would say because of the integral amount of support that you can get from software providers. And if you're a person that's in software doing different things, I would say check out imsta.org, I believe it is. It's run by Hank Shockley of the Bomb Squad and another guy. And basically, their whole thing is this initiative to get people to stop pirating software. You know what I mean? We come from an era, you rip stuff, you get stuff, and because you want to learn how to use a thing. But at the end of the day, you want to support these companies that put a lot of work in. It's a lot of work to build software and then continue the upkeep of the software. So check out Imsta.
One
Um,
more
they
I
got
mentioned. One more I mentioned. I actually just started teaching. This is like my COVID software now. Soundtrack. It is a free app on your iOS, your Android phone, and also you can use it on your computer. But you can literally, not only can you edit your podcast on there and other music on there, but you can actually collaborate with people by doing like video conferencing and sharing your. So it's a whole deep. So I'm using it for to teach my students as well, but it is amazing, incredibly intuitive.
I saw another question, and if y'all talking so much in the chat room, let me find it. We roll down there.
Wise, somebody was asking, can you give that last one again? Is it Sound Trap?
Yeah, Soundtrap. Yes.
Okay. All
I'll drop
right.
Yeah, and you got it. It is imsta.org.
Yeah, I'm
On every, so I mean, I know we got pandemic, whatever, but I've been going to their conferences every year. And I think this is another thing as a person in podcasting, tech, or whatever level of this that you're doing it in. Who is that? Is that me? Am I doing that? That's some weird sounds. That you network with other people in the industry. So Imster definitely sets the foundation for you, not only to meet people that do the software, but the people that do all the hardcore. Uh, I can't use words right now. The your hardware, you know what I mean? So like everything from the software that we're talking about for music production or recording to the keyboards and the amps and all these other things. So you go and you meet, they do giveaways, they do like an intensive of just like workshops all through the thing. I don't know what they're doing now, but I would say follow them for any help. You know what I mean? I've met a lot of people there and built some relationships with people. You know, the thing about tech and software and all that, people love this stuff so much. And you can gain and glean so much great information from people that are just dedicated to this, that just want to see people create and do great things. So I think that's the other part, especially in the tech community, is to like build with people that look like you, build with people that don't look like you, but the common interest is the tech and the quality of the thing that's happening, and you'll get a lot of fruitful results from that.
all right. I got your next question if you're ready.
Yep, ready?
Yes, I know them comments rolling fast.
Bam.
So the next question is, as far as understanding the technical parts of audio in terms of the level, the codecs, I don't even know what that is. I never even heard of that. What do you think is the best place to learn or how best to learn that?
Y'all want to take that?
Mm,
I got, I got it. You got it. What's up?
got it. Yeah, you go.
I mean, just like, I would say, first of all, learn how you learn best. If reading is how you learn best, or if watching YouTube videos, look for that keyword and find it, or if you just want to go to school for something specific like audio engineering and things like that, find the way you learn best. I'm a 40 plus adult that is relearning how to learn. So for me, it happens to be say all those things that you mentioned. I will literally look those words up. I'll get the definition, understand the definition, and I'll go and watch 3 videos. That's 2 fingers. 3 videos with 3 different people explaining that specific thing. And then I'll go back and I'll tell somebody about it.
Mhm.
That's like the quickest, cheapest way to learn anything about the audio stuff. Because we have this is ridiculous amounts of information and really good information. I don't know if you're people that use like Reddit, good forums that are specifically drilled down for that thing that you're looking for. I would say look into that. But I think you start where how do you learn best and then follow that path to the audio.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree. I think for me, it's been, I do a lot of reading, but also just getting in, even if you're just testing with yourself, playing around,
Right.
seeing, getting your ear for it. Sometimes I'll just go to the studio and I'll just talk and play around to sound levels and things like that,
Right.
and try to kind of test out the things that I'm reading about or learning about to see if it's working or not. But some people prefer to read first. Some people prefer to be hands on. Like I agree with Conscious, just like learning about how you learn best and just putting it into action.
Right. And you'll be more likely to follow through with the thing. Enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. I think that's like the most important thing. You send yourself back to school. You know what I mean? And then like you'll get into it. What do you think, Wise?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, I agree with everything you all said. Right now, I'm personally learning. This is my little keyboard right here.
Oh,
Personally,
nice.
learning how to make, well, how to score music or score sounds for different things like podcasting. And I literally, I mean, I every day after I'm done with this, I'm about to sit here and play one tone, one
Right.
key in a different, in different instruments, and I'm gonna watch more videos trying to figure out
Right.
like how I can make this, my own, because there's a
Mhm.
standardized way of how to get something done. Then there's
Right.
how do you add your own specific splash to it.
Right, just like they tell you in audio engineering school, I didn't go there, but many audio engineers tell you there's no wrong and no right. We all mix and do things different. I mean, there's the fundamentals with regards to sound and things like that. You can get in the glossary and understand what gain means and things like that, all of those things. But then you just have to actually do the work, like you said. Just like a person that wants to trade, you can't do fantasy trading. You have to actually put money in the market and put your skin in the game and lose some money or gain some money, but you have to actively do it. And that's the same thing with this stuff. Don't be afraid and just be curious about it and like get excited about this thing that you're doing, because you got to remember the end result is you mastering a skill set. One, to make the thing that you're doing better. Two, to make you more valuable in this productive world, especially at this time. Oh, now I have a new skill set. Let me get some gigs. I saw a question in here. We talked about Audacity, and someone said, is Audacity better than SoundForge? And I'm biased. I don't like to say one is better than another, but I use SoundForge since the early 2000s. SoundForge is a great sound what do you call it? Soundscaping editing tool. It is significantly intense, and with all the different other plugins and stuff that you do with it, it's great. It might be too much to look at if you're just starting. You've never really edited anything. For me personally, I used it. I've used it for over like 15 years. It's a great piece of software. And like I was saying before, pay for stuff because it's old. So they've been updating it, making it better, and doing this stuff for years and years and years. It started as Sonic Foundry. That was the original
Mhm.
name. Then Sony got it. And then I don't know if you guys remember quite a few years back, Sony had the Sony Vaio computers.
Mhm.
It came bundled. You could actually get a Sony Vaio that had all of that because it's like Sony Vegas to do video and stuff. Um, it's a matter of what works for you at the end of the day. Because I don't like Pro Tools at all, and I have to use it for collaborating with certain people. But if you want to tell me what to use, I'm not using it. I don't want to use it. That's a choice. But you got to use it to see if what your preference is. You can't have a preference without trying multiple things.
All right, thank y'all. The next question is, how do you monetize your podcast?
Technically, that's not a tech question.
It's not a tech question. It's not. It's not. I feel like it could be a tech question in some ways because
Hmm.
there's, certain types of tech that's built into hosting platforms.
Right.
Like, for example, Acast, who is our sponsor for the evening. Shout out to Vernon from Brooklyn. Yes. Um, Vernon the second from
Great
Brooklyn.
segue, by the way.
But Acast is the pioneer in what's called dynamic ad insertion, right? And
Mhm.
so that's a tech thing
Right.
that is built into monetization. It helps and assists with monetization. We're going to give y'all more information about ACAST later, but you know, that's not really a tech question, but we
That was a
appreciate
good
it
one.
nonetheless.
That was a good
Yes.
one, and that was a great segue.
Yes, yes, yes. But we're gonna give y'all much more information about ACAST in a little bit. And don't forget, Vernon, who is our ACAST representative for the evening, is in the chat box. So any other questions that you might have about monetization, about marketing, about hosting, things like that, Vernon would be a good person to talk to about that. And stick around to the end because we got some special gifts for y'all coming from ACAST, but you got to stay to the end in order to get what that gift is. We ain't just giving out gifts like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we are, but you need to stay to the end. So, all right. The next question is, what are some post-production tips to get your audio pro quality?
Post production. Now, see, okay. See, that's the thing. All right. Before we go post, what's pre? Record quality audio, first and foremost. A lot of people, and we go through this. TK
I
is in
hear
the back.
TK in the back,
They're in the back,
yeah.
like, you. There's nothing worse than people trying to hand you terrible audio and have you trying to fix it
Trying to clean it up.
in post. So
Yeah.
before we get there, let's just discuss how important it is to record the best quality stuff that you possibly can. You know what I mean? One, I said this is one of the greatest tips that you will ever get is don't record too loud. Simple as that. There's no way you can do a lot of stuff. And I mean, there's some very expensive software. I actually have one. What is Ozone? What's the Ozone program? Isotope has a, what's it?
Isotope RX.
RX. RX is a sound. It's crazy. It's like a sound repair system. You basically paint sound. But guess what? I don't think you want to spend $800 for that for your podcast if you can just record it properly to begin with. But post wise, if you have a pretty decent sound and stuff like that, what do we use? You use Aphonic?
Allphonic.
Allphonic.
Yeah.
Was it allphonic.com?
Yeah.
All right. So I just got into mixing in the podcasting world and learning how and getting stuff up to Spotify and stuff like that through the corporate space. So they have their whole sound situation. You know, we have a certain level. What is the level? What do you call it?
Um,
The
loudness.
standard, the loudness.
LUFS.
LUFS. So LUFS are relatively new, I would say, in the last decade of just even being used.
Can I come to the party?
You want to come to the party?
Can I come to the
I got a friend that's going to come to the party. I'm going to take my head. Get a seat. Find a chair. You just got a bonus, folks.
Listen, y'all know I'm finna chime in. I told y'all I'm the hype man tonight. I need y'all to really like understand what is really taking place right now. We are getting a 2-for-1 in this piece. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy.
I just wanted some peace, family.
Gorgeous.
I
Yes.
didn't want to come behind Conscious. I just wanted some tea. But he started talking about Orphonic, and I wanted to join the party.
Latrice, can you ask that question?
Yes, I absolutely can. Let me find it. Hold up. Let me get it.
All right. Hello,
yes.
my friend.
All right. So the question
Hello.
is, what are some post-production tips to get your audio pro quality? Go ahead and let the folks know who you are and why they need to be like legit writing down every word you're about to say.
Yeah, this is the icing on the cake. I heard most of what y'all were talking about in terms of recording properly and all that stuff. And I know y'all gave everybody good advice tonight. I think this last little piece is what folks tend to miss because, okay, so let's talk about real quick before we go into what Orphonic does and Conscious started. Think about your podcast feed, right? Everything, your episode 1, 2, 3, 10, 200, 1000 they have to have continuity in levels, right? So your first episode and your 10th episode, that loudness needs to be the same all the way across. So you need to process, your process from recording to post-production has to become uniform after a while, right? So that when I click on episode 13, it sounds like episode 12 and it sounds like episode 11, and that also goes for loudness, right? So in podcasting, The LUFs that he was talking about. Child, I forgot what it stands for, but
Loudness, I don't know.
yeah,
I'll look up right now.
yeah, he's gonna Google it. I'll keep talking, right?
Right.
But there's different levels in different countries, and then there's different levels for different mediums, right? So for podcasting, right now the general level in LUFs, if you ever see it on a thing, is -16 for podcasts, right? For broadcast radio and stuff like that, if you ever send your audio to a radio station or like a TV station somewhere, it's going to be -23. But right now we're talking about -16 because in that software or phonic, you go on the website, you finish your work, right? You finish your work. It sounds as good as it's going to sound.
The best mix you possibly can get.
Because what goes in is what comes out, right? If you got a little bit more, if you got a little crackling in the back and you like, oh, it's going to be fine. Nobody's going to hear that. Guess what? It's going to be big crackling.
Crackle, crackle, crackle.
Damn it. Ambiance. Okay.
That's podcast.
So, but if you clean up your original audio the way you want it, you got it real sexy, right? But you don't have the skill. I don't really have the skills, like my mixing skills, I'm learning as I go along. And I need the help that these programs give me because I'm not a professional mix person. I oftentimes will be like, do you want money, Conscious? Please help me. When I'm doing some real heavy work. But when I'm doing like my regular personal projects and stuff, I use Auphonic. But anyway, what you do, I get it real nice. I get it as good as I can get it. I clean it up real good. I get my levels where I want to get it. Then I upload my file to Auphonic, right? Then it's going to give you a bunch of options. You select whatever works for you. And the most important stuff is at the bottom where it says, it's going to say, how many LUFs do you want? Loudness normalization. I want to get all these tracks on the same level. I want a noise reduction. I check off almost all the boxes. Check, 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 check. I put it through, hit process. That motherfucker is processing, and then it spits out a more optimized version of the file, and it
sweetens it up. It's the closest you're gonna get to mastering the audio, the finished product,
professionally
going to a mastering house. And I would say, as you write down notes, understand the difference between a mix and a master, even for a podcast, and especially for a podcast that has sound design.
Okay, yeah. So process it. And use that version every time. So use that's your final version. And then, like he said, learn the difference between mixing and mastering. Mixing is every track in relation to each other. So my voice, his voice, Africa's voice, Wise's voice.
Sound
now
effects.
I gotta get us, we all here, and here. I gotta get us here, here. That's mixing, right? In relation to the music underneath, right? Okay, well, the underneath music can't be as loud as I am. So where am I here, right? And then, whatever's happening, everything got to be a certain place. Then mastering is taking all of that in relation to each other, right? And doing that shine, putting that shine on it and making it pop.
Now listen, let me tell you how that pop when it popped. You know what I'm saying? She said pop and it popped when she said pop. Listen, you're not gonna tell me it's not outside forces in the universe. You know what I'm saying? That was a little too perfect. That was a little too. There y'all go. Listen, y'all. When you said pop, y'all pop. You know what I'm saying? it was a pop. I said, now look at how the universe works. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Welcome back. We're glad to have y'all back. Yes. All right. So, you wanna? Did you finish up what you were saying, or yes? All right.
Thank you so much.
I need y'all to know. Thank you, girl. Thank you. TK done came and jumped up on the thing, and she done blessed us with all of the information.
I was just in that Auphonic today, child. So
listen, y'all had to hit a nerve. She was way in the corner, like, hold up, I'm gonna let you win. But Beyonce had the best album of the whole year. She said, listen, I have to speak. I cannot allow this to happen. I have to speak. And we appreciate you for it because we know you know what you're talking about, sis. So y'all need to make sure that you listen to everything she just said, everything that she just said. Yes, yes.
Dano has
All
a
right.
hilarious question. Could you read it
The
out
with
loud?
the furry gray thing, yes. So Wise answered the question for our sweet, sweet, sweet dear sister. But let me find it again. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. I
I love
lost
that
it.
question.
There it is. So AO is asking, she says, when I see press conferences from back in the day when the world was open, there was always someone holding something that looked like a dead furry gray raccoon on a stick. What is the gray furry raccoon stick thing and what does it do? And Wise, you want to go ahead and take this one because you already answered it in the comments for us.
It's funny. I had to, when I didn't know nothing about this, I had the same question. Like, what is that? Why do they have the thing? But I bought a Rode mic, which is essentially a mic I use on my camera. And one of the pieces, the accessories, is this furry thing. And when you put it on, for the most part, it just protects it from the wind. So if you're outside trying to record, it's just not going to be the extra additional sound that you have to prepare for it. That's really it. I've never, by the way.
They're great.
In video, I just learned this. I just knew it was a thing to filter the sound, right? So a bunch of air doesn't hit it and mess up your. But I just learned that like last year in video that some people call it a dead cat, and I was just like, that's a lot, fam. We don't. That's too much.
I never heard that. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
But there you go.
Yes, yes. The next question we have, we actually got that question twice tonight in one way or another. So let's go ahead and answer that. Curleen says, hey, Curleen, shout out to Curleen. Hey, Curls. Curleen says, I recently started my podcast. I'm considering getting a MacBook. Does it make sense to make the investment in purchasing a MacBook? I've noticed that a lot of creatives use a MacBook, and the other person was asking pretty much the same question, but their question was, does it make a difference?
That's always the weird question when you say, does it make a difference?
I'm shaking my head, yes.
They're
I was
great.
waiting to see if y'all were shaking your head too. This is what we own right now. We talking to you. So this is like
MacBook Air.
Financial come up, right? Like this is when you like learning about your life. So I had an old MacBook Pro, an old one, and it died after like legit 10 years. And this one is a MacBook Air. That's all I could afford, and I could only run Audacity on it. It doesn't have it has not a lick of juice more for more processing. Then I got a job, and they gave me a new MacBook Pro. New. Fam, I'm running programs like crazy. Yes, child. So go for the Mac, not just the MacBook Pro. Spend the money, fam.
If you could spend the money.
If you can, yeah.
Because that's
if
the
you
whole
can.
thing.
Yeah.
Frugality.
Yeah, I agree. I was anti-MacBook up until last year, and then I invested in a MacBook Pro, and I think it's life-changing. I got the one with the bar too, so you easily navigating while you're doing different things. So it's been helpful.
So I'm gonna go against the wave. I'm gonna say now I would be a liar if I didn't say I'm using a MacBook Pro right now. It's what I edit on, but in terms of does it make a difference, I would say no. You, like we said earlier, you could legit record and edit on your phone. If it's a $400 PC, then that's all you could get right now. It's gonna work.
I think you think people have to plan where they're at now and where they're gonna go, right? And do you want to spend, I don't know, let's say a inexpensive computer. Do you want to spend $500 now, or do you want to spend $500 now on this computer and $2,000 on this computer when you could have just bought one for $1,500 right here? You know? Right. But also, what Wise was saying is, in terms of brand. Right, I think this might be more of a brand question than a processing question, right? So if you do want to spend less money, figure out all the specs. And I think a lot of folks, we don't want to take the time to do that. So if you figure out the specs, you could get a computer made. You could get a
Mhm.
laptop put together that has the same specs as a MacBook Pro. You're not gonna get Mac programs, but you're gonna get speed. You're gonna get capability. You're gonna get the Retina screen, but you have to be willing. So only thing that Apple does for us is if we could go to 14th Street right now and buy a computer at midnight. That's it.
Midnight, son, we going right now.
Y'all want a midnight computer? Let's go. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Girl, you took me out just now, girl. I had to gather myself. Yeah, it caught me off guard. But yes, thanks, Apple. The next question is, what's the best way to record a podcast when the hosts are in different locations? Afrika, what you got, boom?
It depends. I use Wirecast. There's different open source softwares that you can use. People can call you on the phone and you can feed those into whatever software that you're using and record normally as if you were in the room together.
I would say I voice over IP. Whatever app falls underneath there, do that, because for me, I don't like to record my voice over I like to record my voice over Skype for recording. I will record we can chat and I can hear you, but I will record myself and then send you the audio afterwards. I did that for an interview I was on like 2 months ago with a podcast in London. I don't want my audio to sound crazy. And, it takes a lot. I mean, I watch the news every day since the pandemic has started. It's a lot to say something. You got to wait 10 seconds for feedback. I'm going to talk for myself and then you can send it afterwards.
What Wise was saying, that's a self-tape sync.
Right.
You go on YouTube. A lot of folks have made like 1 or 2 minute videos on how to self-tape sync, but it can be as complicated as you want, or it can be as easy as using your cell phone and the voice memo. So what I'll do is locate the microphone on my phone, right? Is down here, and I will put that to my face as a real microphone. I hit record on voice memo while I'm talking to you all on Zoom or Skype or whatever. And then I will send my voice, like he said, to the other person so they could edit it into the show. Right. And that's a safe backup for all these things that we talking about. And to add on to what Afrika was saying, Zencaster, Squadcast, those kind of softwares as well.
Yeah.
All right. And this is our last question for the night. This one goes to Michelle. Michelle says, when using a Samsung C10U or C10U, I guess you would call that, right? USB mic with SoundForge and Microsoft Windows 10, often my levels are so low, I can barely hear myself. I think I have fiddled with all the buttons. What am I missing?
That might be a driver issue. I couldn't tell you unless I tried it myself.
It's very specific.
Those things are weird, and you're talking about Windows 10.
So I use Windows 10 at the studio, and sometimes it's a struggle. When we reopened after 3 months without an update, it was a struggle for about 3 days trying to get the computer. That's another issue you don't have with Macs. It does not take 10 years to do the updates. Right. You don't have to update sound drivers and all these different things. And then on Windows 10, if you don't really know how to dig into the different sound areas, you may have to go in the back and then actually increase your back-end sounds so that it comes through louder. And you think that just because you're hitting volume and going all the way up, and you're like, why isn't that working? It's something in the back end and the sound driver you have to increase.
If you do have another situation with regards to where you can plug that mic in, testing it in another system situation, because it might be the mic sometimes. I mean, chances are it's not, and it is a Windows problem. But I would say try it in a different environment. Try it in another space. If you have a Mac, try it with some Mac software. Try different software. Try different things other than what you're doing in that moment, because sometimes you'll be working at something and then all of a sudden it'll click. And it's tough when you are looking up certain equipment and no one has an answer to that problem. Mm-hmm. So I would say try it in various modes too. I don't know if you have switches on that mic,
Right.
or if anything
Might be
like
switches. Might be a gain issue.
that. Right. Sounds like
Also, Team YouTube. Team
right,
YouTube
right.
loves to
But it sounds like
child.
the preamp
They
doesn't work.
on
Like it's
YouTube.
not pushing.
YouTube niggas never learn a topic. Had a topic they didn't like to teach you. Trust. Put in
Right.
Samsung C100
Specifically.
in Windows 10, and it's 17 motherfuckers that yes.
That or the Reddit forums or whatever.
Yeah.
because a
Or
lot-
Quora, I think is the name of the other site. They have a lot of answers on there.
Yeah. And then sometimes we have complete foolishness there.
Oh man. Other thing I had a mixer that had the same issue. I would be recording stuff and I'm seeing it record and it's barely moving. What I would do as soon as the podcast was finished recording, I would take it into Audacity and I'd click normalize and it just go poof. And here we are. I can hear everything clean. Right. So, it's maybe something that you can't deal with from a technical standpoint with the driver, because that does go into a whole lot of stuff. Yo, normalize, it takes about 3 minutes and you can hear everything. So
there's 1,000 ways to do it, right?
There's never just one way. And that was actually a really good answer, because a lot of times you're going to find that you might not have the answer in the moment, because somebody might just hit you with $50,000 and say, you got to do something.
Yes. Yes. Come
trying
on.
to get that $50,000, so let me go normalize.
Listen, I'm trying to get that $50,000 as well.
I'm tiny waves and make them big. Say
listen, I'm saying. Well, I want to say thank you so very much to all of our panelists tonight. You guys were awesome and amazing. We've gotten all kind of comments. People been messaging me privately talking about, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, we really put this together. Y'all, thank y'all so much for putting this together. How everybody just was full of great knowledge and information. Let's go ahead in a chat box and use your high fives and all of that good stuff, and make sure that you share the love and let our panelists know that they really dropped some gems on us tonight, and we appreciate every single one of them. We want to also make sure we're going to give y'all an opportunity to give all of y'all information, so don't go nowhere. We're just going to take a 2-minute break real quick, because we absolutely want to let everybody know about our sponsor for the evening, which is ACAST for the stories. We just want to give y'all a little bit of information about ACAST, and we have a very, very special gift for y'all from ACAST, and we want to make sure that y'all get that thing. You know what I'm saying? So we just want to let y'all know that ACAST is sponsoring our event this evening, and ACAST is a podcast hosting, distribution, and monetization platform. ACAST does all kinds of things. Like we talked about earlier, they are the pioneers of the dynamic ad insertion software. And the super short of that, because tech is not my thing at all, but the super short of that is that that dynamic ad insertion technology allows you to be able to record your podcast episode and make the ads evergreen. So as long as people listen to your podcast episodes, the ads that are included in your episode will always be relevant. They will always be current, and they'll always be ads that convert, which is what you want. You know what I'm saying? If the people paying money to air on your episode, they want to do that because they believe that you can help them get some more customers. Okay. And so you want to make sure that those ads are as relevant as they can be, and ACAST assists you in being able to do that. Besides the fact that ACAST is a global organization, they have offices in multiple countries and continents around the world, which lets you know that they're not new to this, they true to this. Hey, if you don't know, y'all don't, it's just me, I'm the only one. Oh, okay. All right. Don't act like y'all don't know what that means. They ain't new to this. They true to this. It is levels to this thing. And ACAST is at the top of those levels. And so ACAST, as our sponsor for the Afros and Audio Creative Podcast Kickback Summer Series, they are giving our participants 50% off. That is 50% off any of their hosting tiers. Okay, that's a big deal. Like, that's a massive discount. And when we went to them and said, hey, because that wasn't a part of the original deal, you know what I'm saying? I told Talib, I said, we need to go try to get them people a code or something, you know? And all we had to do was act like that's what we wanted. And ACAS was like, oh yeah, we got y'all, and we're gonna give y'all 50% off. Thank you, ACAS. And so the 50% off allows you to be able, at any podcast level, to step into a hosting platform that is quality. So you're not just going with something that's free because you can't afford to do anything else, although there are lots of great free hosting platforms out there. We talked about Anchor tonight. A lot of people are familiar with Anchor. And if that's where you are budget wise, then that is a very, very good move for you to make. But if you're in a position where you have a little bit of money that you can put toward making your podcast happen, like Conscious and TK and everybody was saying earlier, you know, it's about what level of investment you are capable of making and where it is that you're trying to take your podcast to, right? And so making that investment up front really helps you to grow faster. It helps you to build the audience that you want to build. It makes life a lot easier. And you could take this from somebody that started on SoundCloud, sis. I started on SoundCloud. SoundCloud said after them first 3 episodes, you're on your own. Now you got to choose the best 3 because you can't have more than that unless you run us our ducats. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have the ducats to run. So ACAS is giving us 50% off, which means that even if you are new to podcasting, even if you are self-funded, even if you don't have any monetization taking place at this point in time, with this code Afros and Audio, one word, no spaces, it allows you to be able to get a quality hosting platform that can assist you not only to get your voice out, but to get compensated for your art. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we appreciate ACAS for doing that for us. All right. So y'all make sure y'all give a shout out to Vernon in the comments. Okay. Vernon the third. I don't remember your last name, Vernon, but I mean the second. Why I keep saying the third? I know. And why is this like, put some respect on that. Put some respect on that. Vernon the second, I know where he from though. I know he from Brooklyn, New York. I know he's repping that. Y'all, if y'all have any questions about ACAS, if you want to know if ACAS could do this, if ACAS could do that, Vernon is the person that you want to speak to. Vernon is gonna hang around until everybody heads out, and he's gonna make sure that if anybody has any questions, he'll be in the chat box to answer those questions. So once again, we want to give a huge, huge thank you to Afrika, Wise, Conscious, and our bonus host that we listen. We didn't even know that was finna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like that was
my business, y'all.
Listen, girl, we enjoys it. But see, that's the beauty of the Afros and Audio community, is that we are a family. And that's one of the things that when we were creating this whole series of events, community was at the forefront. And so just like we going to a cookout and we gonna bring somebody extra, even though you ain't told nobody you was bringing that extra person, and how you know we got enough ribs for them. They ain't even brought a plate. They ain't bring no soda, a little Jack, a little Crown, a little something. They ain't bring nothing to the party. You just gonna bring an extra mouth to the party. But you know what? Get a plate, sis. We gonna all eat. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure we're gonna go around in the circle. I'll start with Conscious. Go ahead and give the people your information so that if they have any more questions or they want to reach out to you or support you directly, how can they do that?
Depending on what you're doing, I'm really I spend a lot of time on what do you call it? The bird,
Twitter.
Twitter.
On the bird.
Yeah. The bird. At Conscious, CONSCIOUS. If you love really great music and you want to be up to date on music, We run a radio station. So every Friday from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m., I do a show called Friday Feeling on Bonfire Radio, BONDFIRE radio.com. And yeah, I'm really on the social medias. Anything about the radio station, just hit up Bonfire Radio in all social media spaces. You will find me because we run those accounts together. If you want to hit me directly, you can email me at IAREPROMO That's IRPromo@gmail.com. Or if anything else related to Bonfire Radio, it's bonfireradio@gmail.com.
All right, Afrika.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Break Bread Studio. That's BREAKBREDSTUDIO. And if you want to email me personally, it's AFRICA, like Africa, at breakbread.studio.
All right, Wise.
Hey everybody, you all can find me on social media, whether that's Twitter or Instagram. I'll be on Facebook, but not really. But it's at The Real Wise, Wise spelled with a Z. And of course, you can keep up with me as well on my business page, my podcast business page. It's at ICNDJ on Instagram and at ICN_DJ on Twitter. And of course, you can just visit our website, ICN.DJ.
All right, and I'm gonna put some information up for y'all for just a moment. Like I said, y'all are gonna get the replay of this on tomorrow. This is their Instagram handles here. TK, you wasn't on program, girl, but go ahead and let the people know how they could get in touch with you as well.
All good. You know, I'm always turned for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Same as Conscious said, at Bonfire Radio for all the radio, station stuff. We got a schedule on the website so you can see what other shows are on there. During quarantine, I've been hosting a show called a game show called Am I
the Asshole?
Am I the Asshole? We out here. I've been hosting that, so you could just go on the calendar and see when that is, just for some quarantine fun, so we don't have to think about the president or Corona or the uprising. I just, we out here cursing people out and giving people advice. And then for all the, TK stuff and radios questions or whatever, at Tasty Quiche. That's what TK stands for, Tasty, and Quiche, Keish. I'll throw it in the chat. I was just chatting up everybody's handles just now. I'll throw mine in there as well. But yeah, I'm around, and I'll be, sometimes I feel militant and sometimes I feel cheeky. Depends what day it is. But you catch me on the right one. And it's all fun.
And we are grateful for that. We are absolutely grateful for that. So before we wrap up for the evening, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody an opportunity. We want to do a little ussy real quick. So let's try to see if we can make that happen. Go on and turn your cameras on. Turn your cameras on. We want everybody in here to turn their cameras on. I don't care if you got your hair tied up in your bonnet, girl, because you're laying in your bed, you finna go to sleep, and you ain't know you was gonna be on camera tonight. Go on and turn them cameras on, because we need to see all of your beautiful black and brown faces. Let's do that. I didn't say turn your microphone on. I just said turn your camera on. Let's do that. That's everybody, y'all. There you go. Hey, Curls. How you doing? Dion, Michael. Hey, Teo, Leslie, Melissa. Yes. Come on in, Vernon. What's going on, Vernon? Yes, with his ACAST shirt on. Vernon did not come to play with y'all this evening. Look at all of these beautiful faces. Hey, Michelle. What's up, Ty? Everybody in this piece. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do a screenshot. So it's going to be real ignorant. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take a little screenshot. So y'all could do what y'all want to do? The good times pose? Let's do a good times pose. We're going to do two y'all looking like for real, girl. Y'all know the good times pose. Don't act like y'all don't know the good times pose. And don't act like you ain't never took a good times pose picture before, because you have. So we're going to take two photos tonight. Our first photo, we just gonna do our regular little, we respectable black folk photo. And then our second photo, we gonna do us a real, like, we here with family, good times photo. Y'all down for the cause? Yes? Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and do our first photo. Get strike a pose, get your pose ready, do what you feel like you need to do. All right. And we're gonna take the picture on 1, 2, 3. All right, so we got that first picture going. Now we're gonna get this second picture going. This the good times picture. Now, y'all don't disappoint me now. Don't disappoint me. We need some good times. I'm talking about, good times. Y'all know it. Y'all know it. Y'all ready? We're gonna take our good times picture in 1, 2. Let's go. I don't see no good time. Thank you. Thank you. And pose. Yes, we got us a good times photo. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to say thank you again to Africa, to Wise, to Conscious, and to our bonus panelists tonight, Miss TK. We want to just let y'all know that y'all killed it tonight. Y'all provided us with way more information than we ever could process in this particular moment. And that's why we're going to give everybody the replay on tomorrow. So make sure you check your email. If you have not signed up for the Afros and Audio newsletter, head over to afrosandaudio.com and make sure you do that so that you can get registered. Like, we don't want you to miss nothing that we have going on, nothing at all. So y'all make sure that y'all go to afrosandaudio.com, sign up for the newsletter, and then register for next month's kickback, because I will be your presenter for next month. Okay. We are talking about how to how to get over the fear of showing yourself online. And I know that a lot of new podcasters, we have a hard time. Conscious talked about it tonight. We don't like the sound of our voices. We don't think nobody want to hear us. I used to think I sounded like a dude. And I was like, nobody want to hear my voice. Nobody want to, why would somebody want to listen to me? You know what I'm saying? And here we are. So we're going to talk about, how do you get to that place? How do you get on the other side of that fear and allow yourself to be seen and really heard through the use of your podcast? So make sure you go and register for this free event so that you could be in the number. And if you enjoyed the information that you received tonight, tell a friend. Let them know that it's some Black folk over here that's handing out some real good information at a very, very high level with the community, and they got money to make it happen. I need y'all to tell somebody that that is taking place, okay? Because it's happening, all right? Thank y'all to everybody who attended tonight. We love y'all and we appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm gonna